Hello. 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 Hello.
Oh, right, guys.
This is your fault, you bonehead. Well, you better hurry. Here comes the boss.
Okay. Well, welcome to another session of neighborhood training. This week we're going to look at the Wing Road and Curley Boulevard area of North Falmouth. We'll continue on with North Falmouth. And as the title of this week's program is, why do they call it Curley Boulevard? No, it has nothing to do with the Three Stooges. But it does have to do with another famous or infamous person. If you can come up with that little bit of trivia, email me and we'll take a look at what the answers are and feature them next time around on our neighborhood training. All right, so first off, without further ado, this is the area here that we're going to be focusing on. Curley Boulevard to the north from the North Falmouth Rotary on the way up to it meets up with Quaker Road, and we're going to be looking at this neighborhood here on Curley. We're going to be looking at Old Main Road extension in Millstone, and also there's Wing Road development in here. And we're also going to look at Blue Shutters Lane, which is over here. And we have the railroad tracks that are going to be changed into the bicycle path very shortly, running up through here. So as I mentioned, that bicycle path is just something that we have to keep in mind that's existing. Not a great target hazard, but you know, we do go quite a few times down the Woods Hole. I would think that this section of the bike path all the way up to North Falmouth probably is not going to be as populated or as ridden as the section down by Surf Drive, but it's really going to be a nice feature of town. I think it's a great addition, and there are some really nice views up and down, as you can imagine, even right in through here, through this cranberry bog area here of Wing Pond. I think it's going to be pretty. I think a lot of us are going to enjoy going down there ourselves, as well as taking our kids down there, perhaps. So we will shoot into the Wing Road. Now this Google Earth has been updated recently. As you'll notice, the pictures must have been taken real recent, because everything is green, whereas most of our other Google Earths, they're taken in the fall, so we can see a lot more. So we're going to have to bear with this a little bit as we go through. We won't be able to see quite as much as we go down, but we'll work it out. So there is 28A, and let's see if we can zoom in here with this camera here as we go along. All right. Now this is the beginning of Wing Road, covered by the trees, and here we come in. Okay, and the bike path vis-a-vis train tracks run through here, and the first road we come to on the left is Mallard Way, and it runs down. It's a fairly recent addition to Wing Road. Wing Road itself is a fairly old road. It actually used to go all the way through to Quaker back in the 20s and 30s, but it no longer does. It'd be great if it did, because we could put a station right at Thomas Landers Road and we could just cut right through over to the Seacrest without having to go around either Curley or back up through West Falmouth. And that's one of the problems with doing a consolidated Station 3 and 4 model, is that in order to get to those areas up on Quaker Road and up by the Seacrest from Thomas Landers, now you got to go out and around. But get back to topic here, Rogers. Okay, so this is Mallard Way. It's a pretty long dead-end road, and all the houses here just they are pretty, pretty substantial houses. I mean, they're not 4,000 or 5,000 square foot houses, but they're 25,000 square foot houses. And Mallard is a cul-de-sac. It does have hydrants on it, and it does border right on Wing Pond. The thing, as we talk about, I point out now and then the type of structures and buildings and so forth that are in the neighborhoods, and a lot of them have been built in the 70s and all that. And we did talk a lot about different areas of North Falmouth being historical or antique houses. Well, Wing Road is one of those areas as well. This house here, right on the corner of Mallard and Wing, is like an antique Cape house, and I think it was they had a sign on it, looked like it was built in the 1700s, and as is this house over here, the old Wing Farm over here. This is an older house here as well. So just keep that in mind. Definitely building construction, but definitely fire spread, and also rescue, because you're going to be dealing with narrow stairways if we're going to take someone down from the second floor. Alright, so Wing Road ends up going through here, and then the other road on the right we have is Quail Hollow, and it's a short road, probably 8 houses on there, and as you can see, they're pretty good sized houses. I'd say probably they're probably 2,500 3,000 square foot houses that are in here, and they seem to be mostly of the Cape and colonial style. And as we move up, very hard to see because of all the trees in here. The next road on the left is Gray Rocks West, and it itself goes up down to a cul-de-sac on the end, and some of the houses overlook the bog. As I mentioned too, while we're looking here, Wing Road comes up and then splits off. There's a dirt road that continues on from Wing Road, which I would imagine was the extension of Wing Road at the time. But right now it has a chain across it right near the driveway of this house right here. And the reason I mention that is if we did have an incident or so forth down in this area, the bogs, this part of these houses drops off pretty, probably about 20 feet down from the level of these houses down to the bog area. But if we did have something in the bog, that's pretty easy access right from Wing Road right onto the bogs, and it does have a pretty good bog road all around the bog. And this is a private bog that's owned by Brian Handy. It's not one of the town bogs, so we could get access right off Wing Road. Okay, and as we come up, we turn on to it changes from Wing Road into Old Forge Road, and ends up coming up into a circle, and then Old Forge goes all the way around over here. Very difficult to see, and on the other maps I'll show it. Old Forge ends up right here, and then Horseshoe Lane runs around and continues around in the circle. As we go around, and just zoom out here a little bit to try and give us a shot around. Okay, and then we'll move on up. As I mentioned before, we've gone through. Now the next road coming down is Blue Shutters Lane, right here. Now this place here used to have a lot of cottages right on the front facing Route 28A, little probably 20-foot by 20-foot cottages. Now recently a lot of those have been renovated and added on to, and the road had been extended down into the back to include these homes down on the end here as well. Okay, and as you can see, this house down here is pretty large down at the end of Blue Shutters Lane. It was probably 3,000 square foot house. I drove down there. It looks pretty large. Now, we were talking before, this section of 28A had a lot, in North Falmouth, had a lot of historic and antique homes, and you probably wonder why that if you drive past this rotary and into North Falmouth up here, that we don't have any historic homes. Basically from here all the way up to the intersection with 151 has no historic homes built before, you know, like 1950 actually. That's because 28A actually used to come through here, and this was dubbed, this section here was dubbed the new state road, Route 28A, and hence this section up in here was dubbed the Old Main Road. And so that's how Old Main Road got its name, is it used to be the main thoroughfare through this section of town, and got straightened out, and the rotary put in. And well, actually the rotary wasn't put in at that time, but the 28A was continued on. So hence it's a good way to explain why we have a Old Main Road extension in well, this doesn't really show it that well, but it has an Old Main Road extension off of Millstone Street in North Falmouth. Millstone, we have Old Main Road continues on from Old Main Road that runs up to right by the station, and Old Main Road runs straight across, but it becomes Old Main Road extension, and then comes down and bears off to the left and just kind of disappears. And then Millstone Street continues on down until a cul-de-sac down at the end. So if dispatchers and also for anyone else responding, if you get a call for that, you'll see the sign up at the end by Curley Boulevard that'll say Old Main Road Extension in Millstone. And just remember that in this little intersection right in here, it does take a little jog off, and we do have this house here, and the rest of it is Millstone. So that's being said. Now we'll take a little shot up Curley Boulevard and take a look at some of the houses that are up along there. A lot of these houses were built probably 20-25 years ago. There were no houses up on this section here of Curley Boulevard, and one of the main reasons is there was no water. There was no town water that ran up through here. It ran down Quaker and it ran down Old Main, but this wasn't anything, and it has to do with why this section of road was developed. It took a long time for the town to really accept that this was was a town road, and a good thing. But so on. We have Curley Boulevard, and most of the houses on Curley are probably 20 years old or less. They are all tucked into the woods, as you can see, and back off of the road. They do all have pretty long driveways. They're very difficult to see from the road. So if you get a call for building fire, or you're looking around for a house for a rescue call, you're really going to have to rely on the addresses or on the mailboxes right at the streets. And some of these houses, as you can see, particularly this one here. We'll just zoom in real quick. Pretty substantial, probably 3,000 square foot homes, tucked way back, in the woods, and some of them on long driveways. And the same thing on the other side of Curley Boulevard as well. Some of the driveways you can see right in here. It's a pretty long driveway, and we'll look at some of the lots as we look on the map. We'll actually see the lots from there, and we'll see that a lot of them are pork chop style lots. So they do have, by definition, will have a long driveway and be tough to access. So, and then you can see this little house up in here. Not a small shack, a little pool in the front at the end of Longview Road, but we'll get into that once we get onto the Old Main Road itself. But I wanted to cover that area, of town before we moved on. And we will look now. We will take a look at this map here, and this is the map of that area. And then we see here, obviously, that this area here is Wing Road and in Old Forge. Mentioned here, we come in off of 28A, and Wing Road comes up. Here's Mallard Way right here. Here's one of those historic houses. Here's the old Wing Farm here. This is Quail Hollow, and then this is where. And see, you look at the numbers here, and you can see where the break starts. Here's 29 and 32 right in here. Okay, there's 29 and 32 right there. Okay, and right where Quail Hollow breaks, we start out with some lower numbers, 4, 5, 17 and on up. So this is where Wing and Old Forge start, and then we come up to Gray Rocks West, and then we go up, and Old Forge runs up here, and there's our numbers running around, and then we come up to Horseshoe Lane, which runs around here. And actually the numbers of Horseshoe start over on this side and come up and around. So it's kind of interesting that we'll have a 70 and a 78, and then a 75, and then 69. So that's what you got to remember, that Old Forge comes up, and Old Forge ends up here, and Horseshoe is going to come around, the numbers anyway, are going to come around this way here. As you can see, the hydrants along in there. And while we are right in there, why don't I just why don't we shoot like we did last time? We'll look at some of the photographs that I took in there, and this is basically just a gray rock. But it when you come in off of Wing Road and you come into this Gray Rocks development, you'll see this this stone there. And the other house that I thought it was interesting, each time I drive through these neighborhoods, you find something interesting. So, but this house here was rather interesting here in that it had a slate roof. And I pick that up now and then. You've probably heard me say that because the slate roofs are going to cause us some issues with firefighting, and they're going to hold into heat. Plus, we've had if you can ask anybody who's at the Gansett Road fire down in Woods Hole, that these things are actually a stone, and when they start falling off, they come down off like stones, except they're real sharp. So you just have to stay away from them, let them go. Good thing is, if we get embers and so forth on top, they're not gonna burn the roof. Okay, and the other house that I saw on Quail Hollow most of the houses up there are capes and ranches and so forth. This house here had a slightly different design. Nothing, real extravagant, but kind of a shingle style home with a nice big veranda around the outside and a screen porch on the back. Not to get into a real estate review, but just to show the different types of construction, that we deal with in the different neighborhoods. And that's about it. I tried to get some pictures of those historical places, but they were a little difficult to get a picture of because they were shielded by shielded from view. All right, so there we'll go back to this map here, and we'll just take a quick shot into Blue Shutters Lane, which is right there. And this is what I was talking about before, of those little cottages that are right here. And then the road was extended, and now we have Blue Shutters Lane. And this is that larger home at the very end. Okay, so Blue Shutters. And then we will run up. There's the rotary. Here we went up. Here's what we were talking about before. This is Old Main Road. This is Old Main Road Extension. What's it doing? Oh, I know what. I moved the map here, but let's just wait for a second for it to fill in. Okay. All right. There is our Old Main Road Extension, and voila, there's our numbers. Okay. And so we have to remember this is Old Main Road Extension, so there's a number 8, and if we go across the street to Old Main Road, there's a number 8 over there as well. So this is where it's become important for us to delineate between Old Main Road and Old Main Road Extension on the 911 calls, and then Millstone coming down here. Now we'll just take a ride up Curley. And here's some examples of some of the long driveways that I was mentioning earlier. And as you can see, like this number 91, I mean, that's a pretty long driveway. And now we do have town water up and down Curley Boulevard, and I believe I looked it up. I think it was like a 12-inch main through that area. So this is most of the houses in that area. Just to quickly go to another map that we have been using, just to look and to see. This is all part of researching and really tearing apart these neighborhoods that we talked about, real early on now, about 10 months ago. We're talking about tearing into these neighborhoods and really getting to dig them out. Well, this is the town GIS map, and this is showing the Gray Rocks and Wing Road neighborhood, Mallard Way, and as you can see, the hydrants throughout. And when you see these tight lines in here on a topographical map, that means it drops off or rises. And in this case here, it drops off. We're dropping off down into the bogs, so it does drop off pretty good behind there. And then here up top we have the Curley Boulevard area here with hydrants all the way in, and we have Wing Pond, which we mentioned before. It's a pretty large pond right around these cranberry bogs, and then we have Dam Pond up in here. And access, there are folks that go fishing out here on Wing Pond. I don't know too many people that fish out on Dam Pond, but if we ever had a rescue, so forth, a canoe capsize or whatever else, we could, or I know a lot of people do ice skate in the wintertime on Wing Pond. So if we needed to get access to that, we need to know how to do that. Okay. And I think we have just one more picture, I believe, here of a house on Curley Boulevard. This is up towards Quaker Road. It's right on the road, but as you can see, it just gives us an example of the size houses there and the type of construction. This house here is fairly new, probably within the last 10 years, but it's 2,000 square foot, if that. And this one's easy to access, not a very long driveway. and the other ones are a much longer driveway. That being said, we'll just take a quick overview of why do they call it Curley Boulevard. Answer the question and win a prize. So, anyways, approximately in this area, the Curley Boulevard, Wing Road, Blue Shutters area, is about 130 single-family dwellings, all wood frame. I did not see any businesses in there, and I did not see any accessory apartments or any multiple apartments. Remember that on 28A, there are historic and antique houses, and also there are a couple of apartment buildings right on 28A, but not so much in these neighborhoods here. There are a couple of historic houses, and why? Because the old main road, right? Okay, so Wing Road, Mallard, Quail Hollow, Gray Rocks, West, Horseshoe, and then we have Old Main Road Extension, Millstone, Curley Boulevard, about 34 houses, Blue Shutters, about 8 to 10 houses. As we look at our response, we have Station 3 Rescue, still 23, 24, and a first 23, 24, 21, 26. Distances. And once again, this area here is an area that Station 3 will get to first, but Station 4 will not be far behind. So 1.8 miles and 2.7 miles. So 24 will be arriving fairly quickly. So the importance to that is 23. When you get there, you can position yourself well. You're going to have to take a professional judgment and whether you're going to drive that engine up some of these long driveways, and then get out of the way to try and keep the ladder truck available to get in there. And then 24 is going to be grabbing the hydrant out front. But if Station 3 is out on a call and Station 4 is first due, you really is only about a minute response difference. Okay, so the Station 1 is 6.5 miles away. Talking about 12 minutes, roughly, by the time they get the call and get going. I would hope by the time we get the bell and the tone and all that, that we should be able to get there in under 4 minutes. But we'll look at that, Station 1, and then if we do have to call for another piece beyond that, Station 5 is 7.1 miles away, so you're talking 12 minutes plus, and Station 2 8.7, so you take 15 minutes. So if we do have Station 3 is out and we have to go for other pieces, you know, we're really looking at some longer time frames. Okay, well, that about wraps it up, and you know, like I say, next week we'll continue to work on North Falmouth and pick our way through. All right, and thank you, and until next time, take care.